To start, we're going to remove the rear AC panel. You just use gentle pressure all the way around the trim and it will pop off. It is attached with a wiring harness on the rear. Next, we're going to remove this wiring harness from behind the AC panel. You're going to want to use some sort of a tool to push in on the tab. And then with the tab pushed in, the blue clip will come right out. Next, we need to remove this black plate to gain access to the 4 screws down underneath. To remove the black plate, it's going to be 2 T20 screws. Once you have those undone, you can tuck the black plate underneath and you can gain access to these lower 4 screws that we're going to remove. With the black panel removed and tucked down underneath, we're now going to remove the 4 screws. It's a T27. Next, remove the front cup holders. There's 2 pieces, so remove both of those. Once the floor is removed, you'll see there's 2 T27 screws we have access to, and we're going to go on and remove those. Behind the ashtray, there are 2 T15 screws, 1 on each side. We're going to go ahead and remove those. With the 2 screws removed on either side of the ashtray pulls straight out. There's 1 wiring harness in the rear to disconnect. Next, we're going to remove the bezel around the front CD mechanism. We're going to use a panel tool to pop it right out. Once the CD mechanism bezel is all the way out, this is what it looks like. Next, we're going to unplug the wiring harness so we can remove the panel behind the AC vents. Once it's unplugged, you can just pop those right out. Before we remove the center console, we will detach this wiring harness, and you'll use a tool to release the clip that's over by the inner wall where it's attached or anchored. So you push down on the clip and the harness will pop right out. To remove the center console, you lift it up and back. And so there's a couple steps to this process. As you lift it up and back, it'll drop away from the radio in the front. You can use a box to prop it up so you can reach under your workspace. And if you reach all the way under here, there's going to be a blue connector that you want to detach. Then also, this cable was actually anchored at 2 points here and to the side, and they just pull out, and that will completely free up the center console for you to remove. Next, we're going to remove the 2 T15 bolts on either side of the radio, or the CD mech up front. It's one on the left, one on the right. After you pull the radio out, we're going to disconnect the blue wire and our main wiring harness in the rear so we can connect our CarPlay unit. For this install, we're going to install our CarPlay module in the center console. We're going to install our LVDS cable. We're going to route one end down below the driver's side so it can run to our CarPlay module in the center console. The other ends we're going to connect to this blue cable up here behind the factory CD mech and also plug in to the back of the factory CD mech. For our main wiring harness, we're going to route it the same way we route our LVDS cable behind the OEM CD mech, down the side by the driver footwell, and under our center console where it will attach to our CarPlay unit. After we've ran our main wiring harness cable, before we plug in the main wiring harness, we need to remove this optical cable at the top. There's a tab on the top and you can see a hole in the center. You want to push that tab upwards till it clears the knob, and then the optical cable will pull right out. We're going to take the optical cable and it will plug into our new wiring harness. Same thing. Push it in till the knob clicks. And now we're ready to plug in our wiring harness. With our optical cable attached to the wiring harness, we can now plug it in. And attach to the back of the OEM CD mech. So with everything attached to the back of the factory CD mechanism and it pushed back into the factory position and re-screwed, we were successfully able to route our cables, basically where the OEM cables are routed, under the center console. And we'll have all of our cables here to set up our CarPlay module. To route our cables to the CarPlay module under the center console, we just ran them to the lower part of the front of the glove box. We pulled the floor out and popped this front panel out, and we were able to route our cables. We have this auxiliary box in here. We actually need to connect an auxiliary cable too. We also have our USB cable running through here. So you want to connect this auxiliary box and the USB cable. And then also we were able to route our Wi-Fi antenna to the side of the center console. We just mounted it right here. We have all of our wires coming straight out under the center console, the OEM harness we disconnected, as well as all our wiring for the CarPlay module, our LVDS, USB cables. Next, we'll attach them. Next, we're going to set up our CarPlay module. First thing is you're going to want to verify the correct dip switch settings. Again, it's going to be different for every car, so once you have them verified and set to the right position, you can proceed with going and connecting. You want to set the dip switch before you connect power or anything else. And then we'll be connecting LVDS, power, and CAN to our CarPlay module. And then we will also need to connect this AUX cable. So we set up the CarPlay module. We plugged in the Wi-Fi, the USB cable. We have our auxiliary cable plugged in and taped up so the connection stays secure. We reconnected all the OEM connections as well, and we're ready to put the center console back into place.